Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Century Textiles and Industries Limited Q4 and FY21 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. If you wish to download the presentation, participants are requested to click on the sharing tab on the left panel of your screen. Click on the presentation to download. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anuj Sonpal, CEO, Valorem Advisors. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Stanford. Good morning, everybody, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Anuj Sonpal from Valorem Advisors. We represent the investor relations of Century Textiles and Industries Limited. On behalf of the company, I would like to thank you all for participating in the company's earnings conference call for the fourth quarter and financial year ended 2021. Before we begin, as mandatory, I would like to mention a short cautionary statement. Some of the statements made in today's earnings call may be forward-looking in nature. Such forward-looking statements are subject to risks and uncertainties which could cause actual results to differ from those anticipated. Such statements are based on management's beliefs as well as assumptions made by and information currently available to management. Audiences are cautioned not to place any undue reliance on these forward-looking statements in making any investment decisions. The purpose of today's earnings call is purely to educate and bring awareness about the company's fundamental business and financial quarter under review. Now, I would like to introduce you to the management participating with us in today's earnings call before I give it over to them for opening remarks. We have with us Mr. J.C. Ladda, Managing Director.
Good morning.
Mr. R.K. Dalmia, Senior President, Century Textiles and Whole-Time Director.
Good morning.
Mr. J.P. Narayan, CEO, Century Pulp and Paper.
Very good morning.
Mr. K.T. Jitendran, CEO of Birla Estates. And Mr. Snehal Shah, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, everyone.
And Mr. Nilay Rathi, Senior Vice President of Commercial.
Good morning, everyone.
Now, without any further delay, I request Mr. Ladda to start with his opening remarks. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good morning, Anu. Very good morning once again. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the earnings conference call for the fourth quarter and full year of financial year ended 2020-21. Firstly, I hope that you and your family members are healthy and keeping safe in this pandemic environment. Let me first take you through the performance of our company on a consolidated basis. The net sales for the quarter 4 was rupees 820 crores, which was 6.5% growth from last year's quarter 4. EBITDA was rupees 80 crores, which translates to EBITDA margin of 9.8%, and the net loss for the quarter stood at rupees 5 crores. For the FY21, the net sales was rupees 2,567 crores, EBITDA was rupees 285 crores, which translates to EBITDA margins of about 11%, and there was a net loss of about 15 crores. As we all know, that FY21 has been particularly a difficult period for the business environment due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The fourth quarter clearly marked a change in business sentiment as
This is the operator from Chorus Call. May I know your name and your company name, please? This is the operator from Chorus Call. May I know your name and your company name, please?
You are now rejoining the main conference.
Facility social labor module for management of raw material, energy saving, water conservation, emission control, etc. Further, CTIL has engaged services and expertise of Empower Foundation for mental well-being of our employees and their families, especially in current pandemic period. CTIL also has a strong governance framework, thereby adhering to all the compliances in letter and spirit. Now let me take you through some of the key highlights across our three business verticals. Starting with the real estate division, talking about the financial performance during the quarter for this segment, lease income from the commercial projects stood at rupees 35 crores. EBITDA loss was in the real estate business for the quarter was rupees 1 crore. For year as a whole, for FY21 on a consolidated basis, lease income from the commercial projects stood at 142 crores, which was a marginal decline of 3% year on year. EBITDA for the year was rupees 31 crores with EBITDA margin of about 22%. The real estate sector continued to gain momentum in quarter 4 of FY21 after strong performance in the festive season in Q3 FY21 with top developers reporting improvement in their sales. The industry is witnessing a continuous shift in preference towards branded developers from customers along with consolidation as landowners and smaller developers seek to partner with reputed developers. While our two commercial assets, Birla Aurora and Birla Centurion, continued to generate stable rentals, we registered strong sales performance across all our three launch projects, that is, Birla Vanya at Kalyan, Birla Alokya at Bengaluru, and Birla Navya at Gurugram, on the back of the healthy demand in the residential real estate segment. And we sold residential inventory worth rupees 334 crores in the fourth quarter, and total sales in FY21 stood at rupees 621 crores. I am happy to report that Birla Navya Gurugram closed sales of rupees 500 crores, and the project also received the iconic Sustainable Township in Gurugram award from Hindustan Times in the quarter. And we achieved the milestone of cumulatively selling 1 million square feet of inventory, which is worth more than rupees 1,000 crores in a span of less than 2 years. The buoyant consumer sentiment, renewed appreciation for the need for owned spaces, and the trust in the Birla brand will hold us in good stead as we accelerate our growth plans. Moving on to the pulp and paper segment, for the fourth quarter of financial year 2021, the sales from this segment stood at rupees 566 crores. EBITDA for this segment was rupees 80 crores with EBITDA margin of about 14%. For the FY21 as a whole, consolidated revenues from the pulp and paper segment stood at rupees 1,774 crores. EBITDA for the year was rupees 221 crores with EBITDA margin of about 12.5%. The demand for the segment picked up in the quarter with the anticipation of higher paper consumption on account of reopening of schools, offices, etc., and indication of the Indian and global economy returning to normalcy. This resulted in quarter 4 FY21 performing significantly better than the previous quarters of FY21. Sales volumes grew by 15.7% in Q4 FY21 as compared to Q3 of FY21 and 4.6% compared to Q4 FY20. The capacity utilization during the quarter was 100%. During Q4, demand for lower GSM non-copier paper improved due to offline examinations proposed to be conducted by CBSE and state education boards. This increase in demand also resulted an increase in raw material prices. Copier demand also picked up due to the reopening of offices, judiciary, as well as schools in some parts of the country. Copier purchases were made by the traders in the market with an intent to build up channel inventory levels. Consumption of tissue also saw an uptake due to the reopening of major consumption centers like cinemas, restaurants, etc. However, export business got negatively impacted due to disruptions in supply chain and logistics services, which primarily increased freight charges and created scarcity in container availability. Order flow for packaging board increased from pharma sector as compared to the previous quarter, as OPD services in this country reopened and demand from FMCG sector was also positive. Other products under this segment, that is wedding cards, book covers, cup bottom, and cup stock, also saw a slight improvement for the first time during the financial year. In the international market, there was a sharp increase in the soft wood pulp prices in this quarter. As a result, paper manufacturing costs went up. Finally, I'm happy to report that the new tissue plant has been commissioned in March 21, which is having a capacity of 36,000 metric tons per year. And this means that our tissue manufacturing capacity has gone up by 100%. Now we have total tissue manufacturing capacity of 72,000 metric tons per annum. This will help in driving good sales growth in FY22. Although the medium to long-term outlook for Indian paper industry remains strong, the second wave of the mutated COVID-19 virus can affect demand in the domestic as well as global market. Now let's move on to the textile division. I would like to request Mr. R.K. Dalmia, who is the Senior President of Century Textiles and the full-time Director of the company, to give the key performance highlights. Over to you, Mr. Dalmia.
Thank you, Mr. Ladda. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome you all to this earnings conference call of the company. Talking about the financial performance for the quarter, which cannot be compared to the previous years due to ongoing pandemic, our sales stood at rupees 200 crores with a loss of rupees 9 crore, and for full year revenue for the textile segment stood for 582 crores with a loss of the year standing at 48 crores. I am happy to report that overall business environment and production across India returned to the normalcy, driven by healthy demand in retail, domestic and international markets. Supply was lower than demand, causing inventory to decrease and subsequently increase in order booking. We witnessed strong demand in US for home linen, which led full capacity utilization to this quarter too. The apparel business order booking was also good throughout the quarter, leading to 100% capacity utilization. However, the sharp increase in yarn prices led to the margin pressure. The demand momentum is expected to continue as some export customers have started shifting their orders from China to India. However, the global market outlook is still not clear because of new virus strain of corona worldwide. Apparel fabric product demand is gradually picking up. However, disproportionately increase in raw material prices, mainly yarn, cannot be fully passed on to fabric customer. Hence, margin is under pressure. Our current product mix is now more focused on sustainability, having innovative finishes to cater to the market once domestic and international market reopen in full swing. Now I hand over the call back to Mr. J.C. Ladda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalmia. To conclude, as we see surge in the COVID-19 cases due to the second wave, our utmost priority is the safety of our employees and stakeholders. We can only hope that the situation improves sooner than expected and the vaccination drive gives some respite. It is difficult to predict the gravity of the impact on businesses and sectors today, but we can only hope and pray for the best. With that, we can now open the floor for the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now begin the question and answer session. To ask a question, please click on the Q&A icon and click on the Submit Request button. When it is your turn to ask a question, an operator will announce your name, unmute your line so that you can interact with the speakers. If you wish to ask a question on chat, you can type your questions in the text box and disable the Request to Talk slider. Then click the Submit Request button, and your question will be picked up during the Q&A session by the operator or the presenter. And for audio participants, you can press star, then 1 to ask your question. The first question is from the line of Samir Dalal from Natwarlal and Sons Stockbrokers. Please go ahead. Mr. Dalal may be requested to please accept the prompt on your screen to ask your question. Yeah. Mr. Samir Dalal, you can go ahead with your question. While we check the line for Mr. Samir Dalal, we take the next question from the line of Vijay Subramanian from Trustline Holdings. Please go ahead.
Vijay.
Mr. Subramanian, you will have to unmute your line and go ahead with your question. We can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
This is Vijay from Trustline Holding. My question is regarding this. You have increased the capacity of tissue paper from 36,000 tons to 72,000 tons. Now, is the demand enough that you will be able to fully utilize this capacity, or it takes gradually over a period of time? I also like to know how is the tissue paper prices, and do you see any structurally good thing happening over there, and also about some color on the import threats?
Hi Vijay, morning. This is JP Narayan. In terms of tissue machine loading, I think we have got a order book for next 2 months. And in this case, I think we are exporting 50% of our total production. And we don't see any issues, especially the tissue loading of this machine, because this market, especially in virgin grade, is growing at the rate of 15%. And with the awareness, the personal consumption, especially the consumption in home sector, has gone up during the pandemic, and we are anticipating that this demand will jump further in future, because away from home is little dormant right now. Still the order book is good. Once the away from home segment will open, the demand will be further bullish. On tissue prices, right now the international pulp prices are very high. Softwood prices are in the range of $1,000 per ton. So till the time international prices of pulp will be higher, the manufacturing cost in the other country will be very high for the tissue, and it will give a good leeway for us to export the tissue at a higher realization. For future outlook for the tissue, we are quite optimistic that the future outlook of the tissue, especially in this country as well as in the international market, will be very good. So we don't see any loading issue on this machine, and we are anticipating that next 4 to 5 months we will able to load this machine 100%.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Can you give some outlook on the pricing? How is the pricing of the tissue paper?
Right now, the BA pricing of tissue is very attractive. We are on the EBITDA margin of in the range of 24 to 25%. And it is in the range of above 70,000 rupees per ton right now. So it's going good because it's proportionate to the softwood pulp prices, because in tissue manufacturing, a lot of hardwood as well as softwood is being used.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's my questions. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Venkat Samala from Tata Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, if you can start by helping us understand how the capacity utilization levels across the different segments are at this point in time, and have you been impacted to an extent by the second wave regulatory norms, whatever restrictions could be imposed by the local or the state authorities at this point in time?
Sir, first question, that the capacity utilization in all 3 segments, I think tissue we are operating at 100%. Old machine at 100% and new machine at 70%. So putting together in the range of somewhere 75%. So, and board, especially the packaging segment, we are operating at 100%. Regarding the writing printing, it is slight slow, but there is no restriction from the regulatory authorities because packaging as well as the tissue comes under Essential Commodity Act.
Right. Sir, so what would be the blended capacity utilization level for the paper and pulp business?
Last quarter, we have achieved 100% capacity utilization.
Right. So it's slightly off now, as I understand, because of some business and writing paper.
This quarter, we are anticipating somewhere around 85 to 90%. Whatever the drop we are anticipating, that will be there in writing printing paper.
Understood. Sure. And across the other segments, sir?
They will be full. Tissue and packaging, that will be full. 100%.
Right. No, I mean textiles and real estate impact now because of the restrictions.
Textile, I will request Mr. KT to pitch in, and Mr. Dalmia is there about the textile.
Yes. In textiles also, in quarter 4, we have run with full capacity. Order position was good. We have overbooked, but in apparel and home textile is already booked because in US market it has picked up, and because of work from home culture has created a good demand for the home textile. But due to this second wave of COVID, now there is a lockdown in the country and particularly in big markets. So now they are delaying some orders and they are holding some orders. So this will put restrictions on the capacity because we cannot create stocks. And secondly, the color breakup, etc., all will wait, so we cannot go ahead for that process. Otherwise, overall textile market demands are good, and we hope after the second wave, demand will again pick up because the inventory in the market are now almost finished because of no new orders they have taken during the first lockdown. Overall demand is good.
Right. Sure.
Good morning, Venkat. Ask about the real estate. Of course, the demand is going to get impacted because of the April lockdown. Lockdown started with Maharashtra, moved on to Karnataka, then Delhi, now Haryana. So it has created an impact in the overall sentiments. Also, people are not at this point of time looking at buying real estate. They're just hoping that with the proliferation of vaccines, etc., this short-term crisis will remain short-term. It will not prolong too long, and we are hoping that the good times will come back. Last quarter was exceptionally good. We did more than 100%, 110% increase in our sales compared to Q3, and I'm hoping that once this major situation right now improves a bit, the demand will come back into the market.
Sure, sir. We are hoping for the same. So just with respect to execution, is there any impact because of workforce migration as such on the ground across different projects?
Yeah, so largely a couple of things because of some kind of experience of last time. Some workforce has quit the sites. Some people have come back, or we have been able to replenish. Overall, I would say there has been about a 20-22% reduction in the manpower. But largely, our manpowers are in place. Work is going on. Again, Venkat, if the situation prolongs, then it will have an impact. As of now, we have contained it, but we are keeping our fingers crossed.
Understood. Right. Sir, while we're talking about the segment, just wanted to understand how is the launch pipeline at this point in time. I know things may be a little fluid, but as things stand now, how's the launch pipeline looking like in FY22?
Yeah, so the launch pipeline, we are hoping and we are hopeful quite that we will be able to do all our planned launches this year. Nevertheless, they will get delayed. We were supposed to launch our Kalyan Phase 2 sometime in May. Of course, this will not happen. It's not the right time to launch it. We will hopefully launch it in Q2. Bangalore, Magadi Road, again, hopefully in Q2. Worli, as on now, we are still on track for Q3. The second phase of NCR, we are again on track for an September-October launch, provided the sentiments remain robust, and this is the sort of plan that we have as of now.
Understood. Sure. And sir, we have not really added any projects in the year gone by, right? Fiscal year gone by. So any outlook with respect to that? I mean, how is the pipeline shaping up there?
So Venkat, we are aggressively looking at adding projects in this financial year. We will be adding, yeah. We are looking at it. Hopefully, before the next quarter, we will be able to share some good news.
Right. So should we hope for some project addition to come through by the next quarter?
We are hoping, yeah. Again, we are doing due diligences of a few projects, but things have got slowed down a bit.
Right.
So the situation could impact a little bit, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to add some projects by the time we meet again for the next quarter.
Right. Sure. Okay. And as things stand as of now, how should we think about the project additions in FY22 versus say FY20, which was more like a normalized year, right?
Yeah. So I am hopeful that we should add at least another 2 or 3 projects, at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. With respect to some numbers, what was the construction spend in FY21? Construction plus approval.
Yeah. So I don't have that number offhand. So I will have to circle back to you. Offline, I can give that number to you.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
And one last question. So specifically, this is about the textile business. So just wanted to understand how much integrated are we, and to what extent do we have exposure to increase in the yarn prices?
We are fully integrated. We have the spinning, then we have our own weaving, and then chemical processing and stitching also of the home textiles.
Right.
And the yarn prices has also affected us. And the yarn prices have increased by 40%. But
Right.
It is very difficult to pass on entire increase in a particular in 2-3 months. So 25% we could pass on. So still 15% remain there, which will be passed on hopefully by next quarter.
Sure. No, but I'm just trying to understand, if we are fully backward integrated, why are we facing margin pressures? Because then for us, the large part of the input would be cotton, right? Rather than yarn.
Yes. In the yarn capacity, we have around 60%, and some specialized yarn like hundreds count and all, we are manufacturing inside. But then other yarn we purchase from outside. The spinning, we can meet our production of the weaving around 60%. That's
Okay. So our vertical integration is around 60% level, right?
60%
of the total
on spinning, 60% on spinning, and 60-70% on loom set. In processors house, we have 100% capacity. So we are processing our own entirely. But we are outsourcing yarn as well as fabric also, grey fabric. And then
Right. So quarter on quarter we witnessed.
Yes. And further to add, the cotton prices has also increased, and now the demands are more of organic cotton and Pima and Egyptian. Their prices of cotton has increased considerably. Even organic cotton are in short supply, and there is a huge premium on this organic cotton. And now all the businesses, the customer wants in USA on inorganic cotton, even in India also. So this has also put a lot of pressure on the margin.
Right. So how should we expect this margin, this quarter margin, sir? I mean QOQ, because Q4 versus Q3 margins have dipped, right? So how
Right.
should we think about margins in the current quarter and maybe Q2 as well? Because I think slowly as a new contract would be coming for renewal, you would be gradually passing on the cost increases, right? So I'm
Right.
just trying to understand how would Q1 and Q2 margins look like?
Q1 margin, if this continues second wave and markets continue to under lockdown, quarter one of this financial year will also affected to some extent. But if markets, and after in Q2, we hope by June everything should be normal and the second wave will also subside. So we hope the market, this lockdown will also not be there. So we hope a good demand because pipeline is already empty. So there is a good demand and price increase will be also there.
Right. So should we expect by this year end or maybe H2 of this fiscal year, if the impact of a second wave subsides and obviously there's no third wave, so should we return to normal margins that we witnessed in say before? In H1 of FY20?
Yes, I am expecting better than that.
Okay.
After this, because the demand will be there, then we will be able to increase the prices also.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Venkat Snehal here. Hello, Venkat
Yes,
Snehal here.
Yes, sir.
Circling back to the question you asked, our project development cost last year, which consists significantly of the construction cost, was around 188 crores, and our collections were 154 crores.
Right. So does this include any approval costs, etc., that we would have incurred?
So the project development cost would include some of the approval cost. If you want, I can give you a breakup out of this 188, but I can only say significant part would be the construction cost.
Right. And what is the expected approval cost which is to be incurred for Worli, sir? Pre-launch.
Pre-launch, roughly, I think it would be around 400 odd crores. KT, am I right?
Yeah. So pre-launch, there will be a lot of costs and premium, etc. So we are expecting 470 crores or thereabout, about 500 crores.
Right. And large part of that would be spent in FY22 only, right?
Yeah. So all is coming to stay spent in FY22.
Right. Sure. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Samir Dalal from Natwarlal & Sons. He's posted a text question which says, on the textile business, he says, I would like to ask a question on the textile business. Okay, you can ask the question for me. Want to understand why the sales in textile business is down and the rest is incomplete. So yeah, the question is why the sales in textile business is down.
In the last financial year, the sales were down in the textile business because of this lockdown, and market factory was also closed since 22nd March 2020. And we have opened it in the second week of May when the government has given the permission to run the factory. But worker shortage and all, we could not reach the entire production capacity. And even the market was also not opened up, so demand was less, and that's why our revenue turnover was less during the last year. This year, we are hopeful that we will achieve better turnover, and we will reach on the original turnover of the previous year, even the better one. Is it okay or?
Right. Thank you, sir. The next question is again a text question, which is from Rajesh Ranganathan. The question is, what is the reason for the lower EBITDA and EBITDA margin in Q4 compared to Q3 despite strong sequential growth in sales?
You are talking in textiles or?
No, sir. I think he is talking in total. So, Mr. Ranganathan, I think you're right in looking at the numbers. We were 109 crores in Q3. But 109 crores in Q3 included a one-time a credit of a income tax refund interest of about 33 crores. So if you reduce that, then we are more or less in line with the current EBITDA of Q4. I hope that helps. So roughly you can say we were, and in fact we are almost on line. 109 minus 33, so we are somewhere around 76 against current EBITDA of about 80 crores.
Thank you.
I hope.
We take the next question from Nagraj Chandrasekhar from Laburnum. Please go ahead.
Hi. Thank you. I have a few questions on paper and textiles. Just on paper, I see compared to last year, our NSR is still at 51, 52 rupees a kilo. Just want to understand what end demand segments have been hit most in April and May, and by when do we see this NSR going up? And also, we heard about ITC Bhadrachalam having to divert a lot of its oxygen towards using the pulping plant towards the production of medical oxygen. Is this also hitting a lot of paper suppliers in the country, including ourselves? And what does that sort of mean for paper industry capacity utilization going forward?
Hi, Chandrasekhar. Good morning. Our NSR out of our three segments, I think tissue and packaging was doing fairly good, but the drop was there in the writing printing, and the drop was in the range of somewhere around 20%. And in Q4, all three segments has touched the pre-COVID level, and with the appearance of COVID wave 2, we are anticipating further drop in writing printing paper, whereas packaging and the tissue will perform on a strong foundation. So this time the scenario will be different, because the last time there was a huge fear and all the consumption centers were completely closed. This time that situation is not there. Packaging is doing great, tissue is going fairly well, and the impact is being seen on the writing printing paper. So I'm not anticipating that kind of drop in this time, especially on the whole business. In terms of oxygen shortage, the industrial oxygen for us has been also stopped by the government, but that's not affecting in a bigger way to all the paper mills, because there is a substitute for that. We are using the oxygen for bleaching, so now we have, you can see, using more chemical like hydrogen peroxide to bleach the pulp and reach on the same whiteness. So it's not affecting the production, yes, it's affecting the slight manufacturing cost.
Understood. So that is the increase in input cost that you were mentioning, because I think the cost otherwise on wood would not have gone up for us that much, except for the softwood that we import, but not so much in writing and printing. Maybe the coal costs would have gone up because of the increase in e-auction coal prices. So just want to get a sense of what the average cost per kilo was in very broadly in 4Q20, 4Q21, and what it is sort of right now in the paper segment.
Yes, the raw material cost specifically has gone on the chemical segment, and chemical consumption contributes somewhere around 12% of the total cost of the paper conversion. Fuel cost is also in the range of 10 to 11%, and fuel cost has also gone up. The coal cost has also gone up 2 to 3%. Then those paper mills, those who are using imported softwood as well as the imported hardwood to customize their, you can say, the proper paper properties, that has gone phenomenally up. Softwood prices have gone up by 40%, and hardwood prices have gone up by 30%. But that is, the usage is very less. That is being used only in the packaging. But I can say there is the input overall. If you see, there will be input price hike will be in the range of 4 to 5%.
Understood. But the ability for us to raise pricing and keep this 14% margin is not at 90% utilization is not in doubt. It is just the demand has to be there in terms of volumes and has to come back in printing and writing paper. That should get us closer to 20%.
Yeah, that should be because right now, if the COVID second wave will stay for a longer time, then it will be affecting the demand of writing printing paper. Otherwise, if it gets subside well in time, then the demand will be very high because the new education policy is getting rolled out. So all the books will be printed newly across the country. So writing printing demand will be very, very high once that demand will come onto the market.
Got it. Got it. And sir, I had one question on the textile segment. Just you mentioned the increase in the yarn pricing. Just want to get a sense, and we're not fully backward integrated, but you said 60% backward integrated. So just want to understand what was the yarn to cotton spread, maybe on a per kilo basis in the middle and upper counts, I think, which is mostly where we play in, say, third quarter 21, fourth quarter 21, and what is it right now, that spread?
The cotton is around 60%, 62 in the fabrics, and remaining 40% is the other cost. But that depends again the quality to quality. Sometimes it is 50, and sometimes 60 or 65 to 70%. That depends. And the overall demand last financial year, because of this COVID, it was not there. But this year, if the situations improve, we will get a full demand. That we believe, because pipeline and stock with the buyers are empty. So that's we are looking good quarter after second or after first half.
And so also cotton prices and cotton production, do you have a view on cotton prices this year? Last year was a record crop. What are you seeing this year for India?
This year the cotton prices, yes. Last year cotton crop was good and cotton prices were almost stable. Some increases were there. But the major problem in cotton, now everywhere the demand is organic cotton, and which is not grown in India for that much quantity, and demand is huge. I tell you the premium, suppose a cotton, particular cotton of 29 mm is 42,000 per candy. And then on premium for organic cotton is 24,000. So that cotton becomes 42 or 24,000.
Wow.
So that is the problem. And that is the putting lot of pressure. Secondly, now for our home textile business and for our apparel business, buyers are also asking for imported cotton like Pima, which is from US, and Egyptian cotton from Egypt. Their prices have gone up considerably. So as far as prices of current cotton season, which will start from October, I believe the cotton prices should remain stable, but we have to keep a watch on organic cotton and international prices, particularly of Pima and Giza, which is from US and Egypt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a few participants on the audio to ask their questions. We take the question from the line of Giriraj Daga from KM Visaria Family Trust. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Yeah. So my first question is related to our real estate division. You mentioned 188 crore project development cost, right, which include construction. This is for FY21.
Yeah,
That's correct.
And what was the last year number?
No, this is last year's number.
FY20.
Yeah, we'll have
when
to
I say
come
last
back
year, I mean like FY19-20.
Yeah, we don't have that number, immediately. We'll have to come back to you on that, Giriraj.
Okay. And the question related to this only, what will be the construction cost and development cost next year, FY22?
Yeah, we'll have to come back to you on these, detailed figures. We are looking at almost 1,100 crores of, cash outflow in terms of construction cost and approval cost for the coming year.
Okay. One suggestion on that line, if you can include these numbers in the PPT, since many of the other real estate companies do that in terms of construction cost and development, but they include in the PPT. You can also do from next quarter, that would be really helpful.
Okay.
Second query is related to my second query is related to cash collection. So last 2 years we had seen a good amount of booking in terms of almost close to 1,000 crore. But when we obviously look at collection, it is relatively muted so far. It's as you know, like 250 crore in combined 2 years. When can we see this collection picking up materially? Will it be in FY22 or FY23?
So we are expecting about close to 400 crores of collections in FY22.
Okay. And FY23 can it be?
Yeah, FY23 should be close to about. I mean, we are not giving forward-looking statements at this point of time. So depending on the launches, etc., we will come back to you on that. As of now, these forward-looking statements, I don't know whether it can be given these calls, but depending on how many launches happen this year, we'll figure that out.
Okay. Just my last questions on the textile and the paper side. Of textile first, have you seen the worst of the spread in the Q4, or it can hit in the Q1 also?
It is too early to say how long this lockdown will continue. That we have to watch. That depend on that.
So I'm actually looking at the spread, like your cotton prices, finished purse minus your yarn prices.
Yeah.
So I agree that if volume would be low, we will be making lower money. But has the spread hit the bottom, or spread might also compress further in Q1?
In Q1, we will have a hit, but hopefully in Q2 we will be able to get a better price and recover. It will be able to recover it. Q2 should be better.
Last thing on okay, thank you. Last thing on the paper side, like if I had to look at on a FY20 to FY22, do you think we can be able to reach FY20 performance in paper in terms of volume side of it, or that looks difficult as of now?
If the COVID second wave will get subside within next 2 to 3 months, definitely we will match with that volume. But if it gets prolonged, then there will be impact on writing printing paper.
Okay, understood, sir. Thanks a lot for my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjeev Mota from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello, good morning, everyone. I had 2-3 questions. One was a clarification. This was regarding your tissue paper. So you said that you'll go to 72,000 tons this year, and by the, I guess, second half, you're talking about 100% capacity utilization there. So shall we assume, let's assume that the prices remain where they are. Should we assume that for the entire 72K, we can do the similar EBITDA margin as we are doing now?
Not exactly, because right now the international pulp prices are at the higher side. But we are anticipating that it should get stabilized somewhere around $750. Right now it is selling somewhere around $1,000. So the tissue prices are based on that. If the international pulp prices will fall by $200, proportionately the tissue prices will also come down. So what we are anticipating, it will be somewhere in the range of 63 to 65,000 rupees per ton. Right now it's at a higher side. So that will be the stabilization bench for the tissue prices. It's based on
the margin instead of 24%, what you are saying currently can come down to 21%?
EBITDA margin will stabilize in the range of 21-22%. Right now, yes. Right now it's 24-25%. It should get stabilized on 21-22%.
Okay. Second thing on the lease side, so we made, we didn't have much of a drop last year. What are you seeing on the collection right now? And are there any renegotiations coming up or are you actually seeing some renegotiations happening on the lease rental?
I didn't get your question very clearly.
Is the question for real estate, JP? It's for real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Katie, you can take up.
Yeah, Sanjeev, can you explain your question again, if you don't mind?
So what I was saying, Katie, was that, this last year we hardly saw much of a reduction in lease rental collection. In terms of what I'm saying, see any renegotiation? See push.
Sanjeev, you're not audible. Can't hear you.
So, Katie, what question was that there is whether there's a renegotiation of lease rentals. The lease rentals had come down slightly. So the question was largely on that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, are you going to see this year any major renegotiation?
Again, Sanjeev, this is sort of a rhetorical question. Totally depends on how this, current lockdown prolongs, how the whole thing unfolds. As of now, I don't see that, but we can't rule it out. I would supposed to think that we have settled all that, negotiations, agreements last year, and I'm hoping that there will not be any more such, agreements. But totally depends on how the business environment unfolds.
Right.
Can't really put a finger on that.
You were supposed to have one of your group companies, the lease was getting over. Has that been renewed or?
No, I think we had Vodafone, which was having 5 floors in Birla Centurion. They have reduced it to 3 floors. We have renewed the lease for the 3 floors. 2 floors they have vacated. That happened in last quarter. That happened at the end of December.
Right.
There has been no other. All other leases have been renewed, including of Vodafone for 3 floors. 2 floors, of course, they have vacated.
Thanks. And last question on debt side, Snehal, maybe you can answer that. So what is the peak debt that we are expecting? So last year you brought down the debt, but this year what is the peak debt that we think will happen? And second, is there a debt to EBITDA thought that you won't want to go more than that?
So that's a good question, Sanjeev bhai. I'll just give you kind of ballpark figures. Considering, what I'll do is I'll probably give you little aggressive targets of our real estate business for the next 2 years, and I'll give you some sort of a pessimistic number for our manufacturing businesses free cash flows. So right now our debt is around 1,000 crores roughly. And in the next 2 years, there is an aggressive plan in the real estate business where probably because some is the carry forward of the last year, which we could not do because of the pandemic. So all put together, we are looking at roughly around 2,500 crore spend in the real estate business in the next 2 years. That is FY this year and the year after, FY22 and FY23. So this 2,500 minus, I'm taking a pessimistic view of about 500 crores coming from the manufacturing business. So we'll probably require about 2,000 crores additional debt to be raised. So, and that is a peak debt I'm expecting. You can expect about 3,000 crores peak debt around by the end of FY23. And post that, there will be significant cash flows coming from the real estate business as well as the other business. So our debt will keep on reducing. Now, this question of EBITDA is a little difficult one for me to answer because of a very simple reason is that I'm not recognizing the EBITDA of the real estate business every year. It will only be recognized in the year in which the projects are completed. So there will be significant jumps and dips in the EBITDA, debt to EBITDA margins. And even considering that roughly at the peak debt with the current EBITDA's estimation, I would probably be around a level of 5, which would be which would be my peak. I hope that helps you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
That's it from me.
We take the next question from the line of Pratib Agarwal from ITI Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Thanks for taking my question. A couple of questions have been answered, but I have few things to further ask. One is in paper division. So, like you mentioned that if the education policy gets rolled out, then the demand could be back for the writing and printing paper. But so in case that takes a little bit of more time, and if we take a scenario where the lockdown is like lifted, so what is the probability of FY20 volumes coming back? So why I am asking is that just to understand that many of the functions have started happening online. So is there any major impact on the volumes of paper due to that?
Yes, you're right, Mr. Agarwal, that once these institutions, judiciary, and the offices will not happen, then the writing printing paper will get affected. But it's not that it will affect in a bigger way. Our total volume reduction max can go up to 10%. Because what we are anticipating somewhere a 20% drop in writing printing paper, whereas tissue and the packaging segment will drive aggressively. So on a whole, if I can take maximum drop of 20%. So we are in the range of 80 to 85% of our volume compliance, what we have projected right now.
Okay, sir, understood. And like if it goes above, regarding capacity, I'm trying to ask, if things fall out for the positive, so how much capacity increase can we take above a 4.5 lakh ton that we have as of now?
Right now, our new capacity is 4.8 lakh tons because there is an additional of 36,000 tons of tissue. And beyond that, I think it's hardly 1 or 2%, but beyond that, it cannot be stretched.
Okay. So that's what I was trying to ask, sir, like in case everything falls out to be positive and education policy comes up, writing and paper volumes demand goes up. So how much that can be catered from our capacity? Is it sufficient?
Quite obvious during that time, the demand of writing printing will be very high because the entire country is changing the entire, the complete syllabus. So all publisher has to reprint the books. The old syllabus will not work with the new policies. So during that time, demand will be quite higher. So what we can cater, whatever the maximum capacity we have, and with the slight change in the product mix, we can increase by 5 to 10%, but not beyond that.
Understood, sir. And sir, one of a little finer details that I am trying to ask in your packaging division numbers, so that in your presentation, the volume numbers as well as the revenue numbers are given. So if I work out the realization, so it is coming out to be 3% drop for the Q4 YOY. And I have been reading in some news articles that packaging paper costs because of e-commerce and pharma are going up. So I'm trying to bridge the gap between these two sets of information. So if you can just throw some light upon that.
You are absolutely right because you are seeing the Q4 and during Q4, what happened, we have got a certain commitment with our converters. And those commitments has been locked during the leaner time in Q3. So we have got some rate contract we need to be fulfilled because once there will be a price increase, it takes some time to negotiate with the customer and to take the new price. And we need to fulfill the old commitments and old contracts at old prices. So those have impacted in Q4 and it has now started giving the result in end of Q4 and the Q1 of FY22.
Understood. So going ahead with new contracts, is there possibility of a bigger hike because this e-commerce and pharma, all these things are driving the demand for packaging paper quite a lot?
We had already taken that and it is showing the result now in Q1 and onward. So we had that hike has already come. It has already taken now.
Understood, sir. And just one last clarification on the number of 400 crores approval cost for Worli, I suppose. So just trying to understand that 400 crores is only approval cost and doesn't include any other element in that?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is largely the approval cost, the premium cost. It's about 470 crores, which is largely the premium cost we'll be paying. There will be other costs also.
All right, sir. So those were my questions. Thanks for answering them and best wishes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Venkat Samala from Tata Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the follow-up. Sir, with respect to paper and pulp segment, just wanted to understand now that you expect, obviously assuming that the pandemic is not really prolonged, FY22 volumes to be similar to FY20. So when do we expect margins to normalize by? I mean, 20% mark, when do we expect that to hit that range?
Venkat, we had already touched the pre-COVID level, and now with the COVID waves too, it's slightly started impacting on writing printing paper. So let's see how long it will stay. But I'm not seeing any impact on tissue as well as packaging. They will be at FY20 level.
Right. No, sir, my question was with respect to margins. I understand that with respect to the volumes, the guidance is fairly good and your capacity utilization levels are also good. But I'm just trying to understand when would that translate to normalization of margins?
Margin, I'm answering on those lines only, that margins, especially in packaging and tissue, has come to the pre-COVID level, which was there in FY22. Writing printing paper, we are struggling because the environment is fluctuating very fast. And once the prices have gone up for a quarter or so, and it has again started dropping. So till that time, this environment is not getting stabilized. We cannot predict anything, especially in writing printing, but in tissue and packaging, we are good.
Okay. So as I understand, the packaging and paper margins and demand both has sort of normalized, but the impact on margins is because of the sluggish demand on the writing and printing segment. And as in when that normalizes, you expect that margins to also normalize, right?
Very correct, yes.
Understood. Right. Okay. So with respect to state, just some follow-up questions. So, Snehal sir, you did mention that you expect peak debt to go up to around 3,000 odd crores. This seems to be meaningfully higher than 2,000 to 2,200 odd crores that you stated before. Is it because you are not really considering the impact of the collections here? Because we're just looking at the flow from the manufacturing against the outflow against the construction plus approval expenses.
No, Venkat, actually, in the beginning of answering that question, I said, I took a very aggressive target of our real estate business, and I took a very pessimistic target of our other businesses' cash flows. So from that perspective, I gave you, these are all kind of, as I said, not real numbers, but kind of expected numbers. They can be here and there by almost 500 crores. What has happened from the earlier thing which I was telling you was because the entire spend of last year has now, I have actually put them in the next 2 years. So that has kind of added up the whole thing, which should have normally, kind of spread across 3 years or something like that. So earlier I was talking about 3 years, and now I'm talking about just 2 years.
Right. And what would be that quantum, sir? Which is sort of pushed forward from FY21 to 22? Roughly.
Roughly would be, say, around 500 odd crores.
Okay.
But mainly it is related to Worli. Because Worli got delayed because of the pandemic and we are not getting any approvals, etc. The BMC or MCGM was completely working on the pandemic. So there was not much activity on that.
Right, right. So, I mean, more realistic, I know that this looks to be more like a very pessimistic case, but against the construction spend of 2,500 crores, we have manufacturing business inflow of 500 crores and 400 crores annually from the collections. Would this be more like a realistic scenario?
No, so when I gave you the number for the requirement of real estate of about 2,500 crores, this was after considering the realizations, collections. This is net of all, everything, collections during those 2 years.
Right. Sure. Okay. And does this also include some of the possible projects that we intend to sign on in this current year, or
yes. We have I'm giving some, I have also included about 300 odd crores spent on some new projects, 2-3 projects which we might do during those 3 years. So these are all ballpark numbers, as you say. I'm just giving you guidance. That's all. I mean, there's.
Right. Understood. And with this Kalyan project, now that we have executed it to some level, so whenever it hits the P&L, what can we expect the EBITDA margins for that particular project to be?
As far as EBITDA margins are concerned, I think probably we will be somewhere between 30 to 40% margins. KT can correct me. And IRR, we are looking at a threshold of 20% plus.
So roughly, about 25 to 40% margin is what, EBITDA margins are we looking at, depending on various projects.
Right. Sure. And we, as Snehal sir said, between 30 to 40. Is that right? I mean, because that is your own land, right? The expectation is that it will be sliced.
Yep. True.
Understood. Right. And are the collections from that particular project making up for the construction spend for that particular project? I mean, is it sort of a self-financing project now?
More or less it is. We may require very few, very little of, construction finance, largely because of the, strong response and all markets so far. We have been largely funding it. From our customer receipts. Our total, construction finance that we have taken so far is only about 30 crores. The rest has all been funded by customer receipts.
Right. Okay, so 30 crores is across all the 3 projects, is it?
That's right. Of course, the deposits and upfront payments we are taking from CTIL is funding that. I'm largely talking about,
Understood. Right.
So, in fact, just to add, Venkat, of the 2,000 crores that I'm going to raise, almost 1,000 crores is going to be the construction finance, which will be raised by Birla Estates Private Limited.
Right. And do we expect the interest cost to be between 7.5 even for that? I mean, for the construction cost that we intend to raise?
I mean, quite honestly, yes. I mean, we are getting good rates. So, I mean, I would say, and given the current market scenario, we should be in that range. But of course, things might change, and tomorrow RBI decides something else. Then we might feel a little bit of pressure. But I would assume that, roughly the borrowing rate between the parent company, that is CTIL, and the construction finance that the subsidiary gets is not more than 30 to 40 basis points.
Understood. Right. And one last question. How is the reception to the Bangalore project? I know the other projects have done exceptionally well. So one possible nitpick could be, it is slightly dragging behind the other 2 projects. So anything that you would like to mention about it?
I don't think so, Venkat. I think you are not mistaken. That project is also equally done. In fact, in this month also we did very well. It's the highest selling project this month, in the month of April. So, of course, the ticket size is much bigger. It is 2 crores, 2.5 crores. So, it has done very well.
Right. No, so the reason that I'm asking that is other 2 projects are close to completely sold, right?
But that is because of their location, their demand. They're very prime locations. This is on the outskirts. But as per the amount spent, etc., this has been very good, much beyond our expectations.
Understood. Okay, sir. And the margins which is expected here, since it is not like an outright this thing, right? So what margins can we expect here?
Where in Bangalore?
Yeah, Bangalore.
Where are you talking? Yeah. So Bangalore, we are expecting about 30% margins there.
Okay. Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And since we are on the subject, I think I just saw on the chat box a question by Nitin. So Nitin, I think I mentioned about 2,000 crores to be raised, and you can roughly assume 50-50 over the next 2 years. I mean, I can't exactly give you the numbers, but it is more or less you can put it as 1,000 crores in 1 year and 1,000 crores in the next year. It all depends on how our plans pan out. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. The next question is from the line of Himanshu Zaveri from Dhruv Jain Associates. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, the Worli project, everyone knows that it's our own land and they're going to have healthy margins over there. But I was just looking at like the kind of plans for the future growth, because if we want to be in the top 3 or 5 developers in the country, then we also have to add a lot of projects all over pan-India in the top 4 markets. And since the last 1 or 2 years, I think we have been pretty slow in adding the projects in the JV model or the outright purchase. So any views you would like to share? And company like Godrej added 50 million in the last 2-3 years. So is it a strategy to go on very high margins and just be slow on the addition of BDs, or can you just share your views, please?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, Himanshu, last year we were a little circumspect in terms of, how we were not clear how this pandemic will unfold, so we were holding our horses to see how the market would react, how the entire sentiment for real estate. So we were a little more circumspect. But now that having seen through that, and we're seeing how, the real estate market has bounced back, I think we are all gung-ho now, and we are looking for the right deals. Of course, we are not, going, hammer and tong after going after every other deal, but we are looking at good, profitable deals with good partners, good profile of our JV partners. We are looking in all the 4 markets which we have chosen. And we are on the lookout for the right deals. And I am quite hopeful that, we should be making a reasonably strong, addition to our portfolio in this financial year. We also realize that...
And the Worli project... Yeah, continue.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was saying we also realize that is very pertinent and important from the point of view of being amongst the top developers in India. We are pretty aware of that, and we are going to take steps towards that direction. Yeah.
And one more question regarding the Worli project. Are we on track for October-November launch? And, launch tracker, we are saying only 30 lakh square feet. Before we were projecting in 38 around 50 lakh square feet. So is it that this is a residential part and there is another commercial, which is all the total potential is only 30 lakh square feet?
Yeah. So we had told it's anywhere between 40 to 50 lakh square feet. What we are talking about, 30 lakhs is only on one part of the project. 30 lakhs is the residential part of it. Commercial is another 10 lakhs. And the 30 lakhs is also, it could go up. As of now, it's an estimated 30 lakhs. It could go up to maybe 35 lakhs also. As I told you, this is on the first the FSI for this mill lands is still under abeyance. So we have gone as per the stricter of the 2 rules. And as of basis today, what we have in hand is about 30 lakhs. It could go up. So we are looking, and this is only the residential part of it. And on the launch tracker, we are as of now on track. The April has been dismal. There has been no movement in April. So we are in line for MOEF clearance. We are in line for the IOD, etc. We are hoping all that the approvals will all be in place by September, October. And then we should be hoping for a good launch in the end of Q3. So if situation improve from here and everything goes in, we are well on track for the timely launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to Mr. J.C. Ladda from Century Textiles and Industries Limited for closing comments.
First of all, thank you, Anuj, for organizing stimulating discussions. There were very insightful questions, and we are confident here should be very good. In fact, we feel that the lockdown impacted largely in the previous year, and the second wave perhaps will be contained by the efforts of everybody. And we see, after Q1, things should become normal. And thank you very much once again, and we're confident all the businesses during FY22 will do very well. Please take care and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Century Textiles and Industries Limited, that concludes this conference. We thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.